Story Corner, presented by Jennifer. Warriors, Into the Wild, Book 1, Into the Wild. He dropped a large mouse and a chiffon onto the ground beside Yellowfang. "About time," she growled. Then the she-cat had still been sleeping when Firepaw entered the camp after his hunting trip. But the smell of fresh kill must have woken her, for now she had pulled herself into a sitting position. She dropped her head and hungrily gulped down Firepaw's offerings. She had developed a massive appetite as her strength returned. Her wound was healing well, but her temper remained as fierce and unpredictable as ever. She finished her meal and complained, "The base of my tail itches like fury, but I can't reach it. Give it a wash, will you?" With an inward shudder, Firepaw crouched down and set to work. As he cracked the plump fleas between his teeth, he noticed a gang of small kits tumbling into the dusty earth nearby. They were mewing at each other and play fighting, sometimes quite viciously. Yellowfang, who had closed her eyes as Firepaw groomed her, half opened one eye to observe the kits as they played. To his surprise, he felt her spine stiffen beneath his teeth. He listened for a moment to the tiny yelps and squeaks of the kittens. "Feel my teeth, Broken Star," mewed one small tabby. He leapt onto the back of a little gray and white kit who was pretending to be the ShadowClan leader. The two kits bundled towards the high rock. Suddenly, the gray and white kit gave a mighty heave and flung the tabby from his back. With a startling squeak, the little tabby cannoned into Yellowfang's side. Instantly, the old she-cat leapt to her feet, fur on end, spitting viciously. "Stay away from me, you scrap of fur," she hissed. The tabby kit took one look at the ferocious cat, turned tail, and ran. He hid himself behind a tabby queen, who was staring furiously across the clearing at Yellowfang. The gray and white kit froze where he stood. Then, paw by paw, he cautiously backed away towards the safety of the nursery. Yellowfang's reaction had shocked Firepaw. He thought he'd seen her at her most vicious when they fought after their first meeting. But her eyes burned with a new rage now. "I think the kits are finding it hard to be confined to camp," he mewed cautiously. "They're getting restless. I don't care how restless they are, growled Yellowfang. Just keep them away from me. Don't you like kits? Firepaw asked, curious in spite of himself. Didn't you ever have kits of your own? Don't you know medicine cats don't have kits? Hissed Yellowfang furiously. But I heard you were a warrior before that, Firepaw ventured. I have no kits, Yellowfang spat. She snatched her tail away from him and sat up. Anyway, her voice suddenly lowered, and she sounded almost wistful. Ancient accidents seem to happen to kits when I'm around them. Her orange eyes clouded with emotion. She laid her chin flat on her forepaws and stared ahead. Firepaw watched her shoulders sink as she released a long, silent sigh. Firepaw looked at her curiously. What could she mean? Was the old she-cat being serious? It was hard to tell. Yellowfang seemed to swing from mood to mood so quickly. He shrugged to himself and went on with the grooming. There are a couple of ticks I can't pull out, he told her when he'd finished. I hope you wouldn't even try, you idiot, snapped Yellowfang. I don't want any tick heads embedded in my rear, thank you very much. Ask Spotted Leaf for a little mouse bile to rub on them. A splash of that in their breathing holes, and they'll soon loosen their grip. I'll get some now, Firepaw offered. He was glad of a chance to get away from the grumpy cat for a while, and it was certainly no hardship to go and see Spotted Leaf again. He walked towards the fern tunnel. Cats crossed the clearing around him, carrying sticks and twigs in their teeth. While he had been grooming Yellowfang, the camp had grown active. It had been like this every day since Blue Star had announced WindClan's disappearance. The queens were weaving twigs and leaves into a dense green wall around the outside of the nursery, making sure that the narrow entrance was the only way in or out of the bramble patch. The other cats were working on the edge of the camp, filling in any spaces in the thick undergrowth. Even the elders were busy, scraping out a hole in the ground. Warriors would file steadily past, dropping pieces of fresh kill beside them, ready to be stoked inside the newly dug hole. There was an air of quiet concentration, a determination to make the clan as secure and well-supplied as possible. If ShadowClan made a move on their territory, ThunderClan would shelter inside the camp. They would not let themselves be driven from their hunting grounds as easily as WindClan had been. Darkstripe, Longtail, Willowpelt, and Dustpaw were waiting silently at the camp entrance. Their eyes were fixed on the opening to the grouse tunnel. A patrol was just returning, dusty and paw-sword. As soon as the warriors had entered camp, Darkstripe and his companions approached and exchanged words with them. Then they slipped quietly out of the camp. ThunderClan's borders were not being left unguarded for a moment. Firepaw headed down the fern tunnel that led to Spotted Leaf's den. As he entered the clearing, he could see Spotted Leaf was preparing some sweet-smelling herbs. Can I have some mouse bile for Yellowfang's ticks? Firepaw mewed. In a moment, replied Spotted Leaf, pulling 2 piles of herbs together and mixing the fragrant heaps with one delicate extended claw. Busy? Firepaw asked, settling down on a warm patch of earth. I want to be prepared for any casualties, Spotted Leaf murmured, glancing up at him with her clear amber eyes. Firepaw met her gaze for a moment, then looked away, an uncomfortable feeling prickling his fur. Spotted Leaf turned her attention back to the herbs. Firepaw waited, happy to sit quietly and watch her at work. Right, she mewed at last. What was it you wanted? Mouse bile? Yes, please. Firepaw stood up and stretched each back leg in turn. The sun had warmed his fur and made him feel sleepy. Spotted Leaf bounded into her den and brought something out. She held it gingerly in her mouth. It was a small wad of moss dangling on the end of a thin strip of bark. She passed it to Firepaw. He tasted her warm, sweet breath as he took the bark strip between his teeth. "The moss is soaked in bile," Spotted Leaf explained. "Don't get any of it in your mouth, or you'll have a foul taste for days. Press it onto the ticks and then wash your paws in the stream, not with your tongue." Firepaw nodded and trotted back to Yellowfang, feeling suddenly cheerful and tingly with energy. "Hold still," he mewed to the old she-cat. Carefully, he used his forepaws to press the moss onto each tick. "You may as well clear away my dirt now that your paws are already foul," she meowed when he finished. "I'm going to take a nap." She yawned, revealing her blackened and broken teeth. The warmth of the day was making her sleepy, too. "Then you can go and do whatever it is you apprentices do," she murmured. When Firepaw had cleared away Yellowfang's dirt, he left her dozing and made his way to the grass tunnel. He was keen to get to the stream and rinse his paws. "Firepaw!" a voice called from the other side of the clearing. Firepaw turned. It was Halftail. "Where are you going?" "Where are you off to?" meowed the old cat curiously. "You ought to be helping with the preparations." I've just been putting moss bile on Yellowfang's ticks," replied Firepaw. Amusement flickered through Halftail's whiskers. "So now you're off to the nearest stream. Well, don't come back without fresh kill. We need as much as we can." "Yes, Halftail," Firepaw replied. He made his way out of camp and up the side of the ravine. He trotted down to the stream where he and Greypaw had hunted on the day he found Yellowfang. Without hesitation, he jumped down into the cool, clear water. It came up to his haunches and wet his belly fur. The shock made him gasp, and he shivered. A rustle in the bushes above him made him look up, although the familiar scent that reached his nose told him there was nothing to be alarmed about. "What are you doing there?" Greypaw and Ravenclaw were standing looking at him as if he were mad. "Mouse bile." Firepaw grimaced. "Don't ask. Where are Lionheart and Tigerclaw?" "They've gone to join the next patrol," answered Greypaw. "They ordered us to spend the rest of the afternoon hunting." "Halftail told me to do the same thing," Firepaw mewed, flinching as the chilly current of water rushed around his paws. "Everyone's busy back at camp. You think we're about to be attacked at any moment." He climbed up onto the bank, dripping. "Who says we won't be?" mewed Ravenpaw, his eyes flickering from side to side as if he expected an enemy patrol to leap out of the bushes at any time. Firepaw looked at the heap of fresh kill that was piled beside the two apprentices. "Looks like you've done all right today," he mewed. "Yeah," mewed Greypaw proudly, "and we've still got the rest of the afternoon to hunt. Do you want to join us?" "You bet," Firepaw purred. He gave himself a final shake, then bounded into the undergrowth after his friends. Firepaw could tell that the cats back at camp were impressed with the amount of prey the three apprentices had managed to catch during their afternoon hunt. They were welcomed back with high tails and friendly nuzzles. It took them 4 journeys to carry their bumper catch to the storage hole the elders had dug. Lionheart and Tigerclaw had just returned with their patrol as Firepaw, Greypaw, and Ravenpaw carried the last of the load into camp. "Well done, you 3, meowed Lionheart. "I hear you've been busy. The stores are almost full. You might as well add that last pile of fresh kill for tonight, and take some back to your dens with you. You deserve a feast." The 3 apprentices flicked their tails with delight. "I hope you have not been neglecting Yellowfang with all this hunting, Firepaw," Tigerclaw growled warningly. Firepaw shook his head impatiently, eager to get away. He was starving. He had obeyed the warrior's code this time, and not eaten a morsel when he was hunting for the clan. Nor had Greypaw or Ravenpaw. They trotted away and dropped the last of their catch on the fresh kill that had already been laid at the center of the clearing. Then each of them took a piece and carried it back to their tree stump. The den was empty. "Where are Dustpaw and Sandpaw?" asked Ravenpaw. They must be still out on patrol. Firepaw guessed. Good, meowed Greypaw. Peace and quiet. They ate their fill and laid back to wash. The cool evening air was a welcome after the heat of the day. Hey, guess what? Mewed Greypaw suddenly. Ravenpaw managed to squeeze a compliment out of old TigerClaw this morning. Really? Firepaw gasped. What on earth did you do to please TigerClaw? Fly? Well, Ravenpaw began shyly, looking at his paws. I caught a crow. How did you manage that? Ravenpaw mewed, impressed. It was an old one, Ravenpaw admitted modestly. But it was huge, added Greypaw. Even TigerClaw couldn't find fault with that. And he's been in such a bad mood since Bluestar took you on as her apprentice. He licked his paw thoughtfully for a moment. Hang on. Make that since Lionheart was made deputy. He's just worried about ShadowClan and the extra patrols, mewed Ravenpaw hastily. You should try not to annoy him. Their conversation was interrupted from a loud yowl from the other side of the clearing. Oh no, Firepaw groaned, getting to his paws. I forgot to take Yellowfang her share. You wait here, mewed Greypaw, leaping up. I'll take her something. No, I'd better go, Firepaw protested. This is my punishment, not yours. No one will notice, argued Greypaw. They're all busy eating. You know me, quiet as a mouse, quick as a fish. Wait here. Firepaw sat up again, unable to hide his relief. He watched his friend trot away from the stump to the pile of fresh kill. As if he were carrying out orders, Greypaw confidently picked up 2 of the juiciest-looking mice. Quickly, he began to pad across the clearing towards Yellowfang. Stop, Greypaw! A loud growl rumbled from the entrance of the warrior's den. TigerClaw strode out and marched over to Greypaw. Why are you taking those mice? He demanded. With a sinking feeling in his stomach, Firepaw watched helplessly from the tree stump. Beside him, Ravenpaw froze mid-chew and crouched over his meal with his eyes wider than ever. Greypaw dropped the mice and shifted his paws uncomfortably. Not helping young Firepaw feed that greedy traitor over there, are you? Firepaw watched Greypaw study his paws for a moment. Finally, he replied, I was just feeling hungry. I was going to take them off and eat them by myself. If I let that pair get a look in, he glanced at Firepaw and Ravenpaw, they'll leave me with nothing but bones and fur. Oh, really? Mewed Tigerpaw. Well, if you're so hungry, you might as well eat them here and now. But, Greypaw began, looking up at the senior warrior in alarm. Now! Growled Tigerclaw. Greypaw bent his head quickly and began eating the mice. He demolished the first one in a couple of bites and swallowed it quickly. The second mouse took longer for him to eat. Firepaw thought he'd never manage to swallow it, and his own stomach churned in sympathy. But eventually Greypaw gave a final difficult gulp, and the last bits of mouse disappeared. Better now? Asked Tigerclaw, his voice smooth with mock sympathy. Much, replied Greypaw, stifling a burp. Good. Tigerclaw stalked off again, back to his den. Greypaw slunk uncomfortably back to Firepaw and Ravenpaw. Thanks, Greypaw, Firepaw mewed gratefully, nudging his friend's soft fur. That was quick thinking. The noise of Yellowfang's yowl rose in the air once more. Firepaw sighed and got to his paws. He would make sure he took her enough to see her through the night. He wanted to turn in early. His stomach was full and his paws were tired. Are you okay, Greypaw? He asked as he turned to leave. Moaned Greypaw. He was hunched into a low crouch, squinting in pain. I've eaten too much. Go and see Spotted Leaf, Greypaw suggested. I'm sure she'll find something to help. I hope so, Greypaw mewed, trotting away slowly. Firepaw wanted to watch him go, until another angry yowl from Yellowfang sent him sprinting across the clearing.